Hey guys, welcome to Walsham Weekly, or soon to be rebranded to something else, something along the lines of entrepreneurship and being a university student, because I think that's something that encompasses me a lot more instead of just Walsham Weekly, because no one knows what that is. It doesn't really have a brand So the thing with Walsham Weekly is I'm going to change the brand into something that actually shows what the topic is about and shows the kind of conversations that I'm going to be having. This episode is with JamesMatthewMedia. JamesMatthewMedia is a photographer, filmmaker, that sort of kind of person. He's that sort of entrepreneur. He has started his film entrepreneurship. He basically makes videos or does photography for high-level clients, and he started at the bottom, and you'll get to listen to his story, but he is also a very curious character because he has created his own fashion brand. So he is, in every sense of the word, a creative entrepreneur, which is something that I think that I strive to be in a lot of ways. So yeah, I think I learned a lot from this episode, and I hope you learn a lot too. You can check out his social media at JamesMatthewMedia, and then it'll all be linked in the show notes, but as well for his brand, it is searchandcreate.com. And then on Instagram, it is search and create. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Have a lovely day and enjoy the content.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than
Everybody
you.
has time. Stop watching vlogs.
I love what I do, and that's why I'm doing what I love.
Hey guys, welcome to Walsham Weekly. This week I'm speaking to JamesMatthewMedia. James, how did you get into this? How did this all happen? How did you start getting into photography, videography, all this kind of stuff, into vlogging, all that stuff, and even now creating a brand? How did this start?
Sweet. Thanks for having me on firstly, mate.
All good.
Right. So first off, I used to be really, really into my art, like always been really, really artistic, loved painting, drawing, anything to do with art really. Then eventually I got into skateboarding and BMXing, like really kind of hardcore. Absolutely loved it. And then from there, bought my first ever DSLR camera.
Yeah.
And I started off by taking pictures of friends at the skate park, things like that. Because at the time, that was kind of that was kind of the thing that you'd done. Like you went to the skate parks with your mates, you take some pictures, you chuck them on Facebook, or MySpace at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually, I just started getting quite good at it, like just by accident, really. And then quite a lot of other like BMXers were like messaging me on Facebook saying, "Oh, dude, can you like come down and take some pictures of me and stuff like that?" So yeah, just started going down a bit more, like just progressively taking more and more pictures. And started to realise that, oh shit, like I really, really like this, and I could tell like people were telling me I was getting good, so I was like, oh, maybe I'm getting good. But yeah, done that for quite a long time, and then I went to, at school we'd done a media course, and on this media course it basically required you to make a video. So we made a video, and like I just jumped into it, mate. Like as soon as I started recording video, it was just like a complete another world of like photography basically. So it allowed you to kind of really like motivate a story, and I really got into like learning shot angles and like cinematography not in terms of just making it look beautiful, but actually telling a story through different angles. So that's what I really went down that road at one point. Won a little award at school, won best film of the year at school, which is pretty cool. Then I went off to film school. But before I went to film school, I actually got a job as a photographer in some of the nightclubs in Essex, which is like one of the first ever jobs I had, like photography wise. Yeah. That's cool because like you got to like hang out with like celebrities and stuff like that. And I was only like 18 at the time. Yeah. So I thought it was like super cool. But now I look back, it weren't that cool at all. But yeah, so then I went to film school. I'll try not to make this all too long. I went to film school, studied cinematography. Kind of got to use all like the best cameras in the world, like the Arri Alexas, the Sony F55s, you name it. Like we got to use everything. I actually specialised in Steadicam operating. That's probably why a lot of like my content is like either Steadicam based or like gimbal based. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of like single shots, like slow single shots. A lot of my work people will probably notice because I'll do like very long establishing shots. I think that's kind of like what people would like say is kind of my style, if that makes any sense. So yeah, went there, won another award at film school, which is pretty cool. then I got like entered into a national award for the in the UK, and I came runner up. I didn't quite make it, which was a bit of a kick in the teeth, but oh well. So that was pretty cool. And then after that, I started my own video production business. Been making videos for companies for about 3 or 4 years now, which is doing all right. And then only recently, about like the last 2 years, I've really kind of picked up my kind of caliber of client. The client has really kind of taken a big step up now. Instead of just like little small local businesses, I'm kind of getting work from all over the world now, which is nice. Then about 2 years ago, I started vlogging. So I just thought, right, I was really inspired by people like Casey Neistat, a couple of other like young videographers in the UK, and I just thought, I'll give this a go. Just like it looks fun enough. Like I feel like I've got some good jobs that hopefully people can actually get and good insight into, like mainly like BTS and things like that behind the scenes. So why not? Let's give this a go. Give it a go. And I just fell in love with making content for YouTube, because you, as the creator, have got 100% creative control. No one's telling you what to do. And man, you are the creator, basically.
How did you know when it was time to go from, I guess, amateur, like not making your own business? How did you know when it was time to go pro, I guess?
I don't think you ever do. I just feel like you've got to step out of your comfort zone end of the day. So I feel like you're never ever going to be ready to do something. So the only way that you're going to know you're going to be ready is by saying yes. And then by the time you've said yes, you're going to be shitting yourself because you've said yes to something you can't do. But by the time, from the minute you've said yes to the minute you step on set, you prep. So when you get there, you know how you're going to shoot it, how you're going to light it, what cameras you're going to use, what frame rates you're going to use, how you're going to direct the actors. It all sounds a bit technical, but it's not. It's real. All you do is kind of make the story in your head, and by the time you get there, you've written it all down. When you get there, you know exactly what you're doing, because half of the jobs, even today, I still do it today, mate. I probably shouldn't say it, but today I still do. I'll get a client ask me to do something. I'll put the phone down and I'll be like, oh my God, what have I just done? Then I'll make sure by the time I get there, I know exactly what I'm doing.
I don't know. It's a lot of risk taking. It's like you're forcing yourself. I mean, it's pretty risky, but you are forcing yourself to take those challenges and advance. But how do you know, like, when you, for example, this is another question that I thought I should touch on. How do you get those, like you said, you stepped up from the lower level clients to the higher clients that you think are improving your business. How do you take that step?
Right. So in terms of the step, the larger clients, I don't go out to, I haven't like pitched myself to larger clients. The larger clients have kind of come to me. So I think it just comes down to doing good work. So you'll find loads of videographers, mainly on Instagram, and they'll be doing loads of like fitness videography, like anything that kind of visually looks good without having to tell a story. So you'll get loads of people that will get loads and loads of different jobs doing like as I say, like fitness shoots, anything sport wise. Usually there's lots of people on Instagram doing that because they're quite easy to make look really good without having to tell a true story. Whereas the larger clients really want story. They want emotion in their films instead of just like, oh, let's get some EDM music and get someone like a girl with a booty doing some squats. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like if you do good work and you focus on telling a story, clients will eventually come to you and find your work. So because I haven't got a big following on Instagram, but I get all of my work through Instagram. And I get pretty big companies that come to me through Instagram, which is pretty cool. Sorry, mate, what was the question again? I kind of went off a bit.
How do you go up to those high level clients? Like how do you go and get those clients?
Yeah, cool. So the one, I can only really talk for myself. The higher ones kind of came to me, and it's as well. It's all about relationships. Once you build a relationship with a client, they will then refer you to other larger clients. So let me put it this way. Let's say that I'm trying to think about what brands you'll have out in in New Zealand, but let's say sports brands for the moment. Let's say that you've got like Nike at the top, you've got like Reebok here, and then underneath you've got Who should we put at the bottom? Like Lonsdale or something like that?
I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know, Gymshark?
Right, okay. Well, let's just say a lower level one.
Yeah.
So let's say you do your first job, or not your first job, you eventually get a job with this lower level client, yeah? If you absolutely put your heart and your soul into this lower level client and you absolutely smash them a piece of work out of the park, like you spend a month, 2 months doing a piece of work for this company, these larger companies have got their eyes on this lower company because they are competition. They could be the ones stepping up, right? So these other 2 companies are watching that. When they see your work, you've instantly got these massive clients. You've got their eyes on your work, even though your work is at this lower level of client, right?
Yeah.
So even if you've got a really low level client, make sure you put every single bit of your creativity, every bit of your professionalism into doing that piece of work, because them larger companies are definitely going to have eyes on them, mate. They're going to have eyes on your work. So therefore, if you do a really good job here, there's going to be people in this company that go, fucking hell, like that was pretty good. Who done that? And people are nosy, mate. People will go dive into that product, into that commercial, and they'll be going, oh, who shot this? Because people are just nosy. We all do it. We're humans, you know what I mean? So they'll look into that, and then someone from this company will more than likely contact you, and it will just go from there, mate.
And how do you go about building those, like, would the relationships be primarily from producing good work with clients that you've previously done, like, or would it be just through, like, I don't know, networking sort of things? Like, is it just through having good work and that speaking for itself?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest, mate, because I know a lot of, like, because there's loads of really talented people out there, but you've also got to be, like, quite a people's person as well. So when you're shooting with people, you're shooting with them for, like, 10, 14 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So you've really got to get on with them. You've got to, like, come to agreements on what the story's about. And sometimes these brands actually allow you I'm quite lucky, some of them let me do it myself. They'll let me take on my own concept on their brand, on their story, and go with my own kind of creative way about it. So that is a relationship that you have to build. No one's going to give you full creative control unless they've seen, like, a piece of your work and they're like, right, we're happy to give them our brand, put that in their hands, and create you some awesome content. So building that personality connection is so important. Yeah.
So when you first started out, how do you go about, do you have to pitch people, and do you have any tips for pitching people?
Okay, trying to get, like, your first client, for example, yeah? Yeah, so I just made a video about this actually on my channel, and I feel like it's probably some, like, the most valuable content I've probably ever done, because a lot of my content's just having a laugh, really. But this piece of content was actually I feel like it's quite valuable, because it was 100% the truth. It's exactly how I went out and got clients. So basically, when I must have been about 18, 19 when I was trying to get my first, like, real set of clients. I think it's just allowing people to know, especially in your social circle, no matter where you live, everyone's got a social circle of people in their community where they live. There's companies everywhere. You just need to get as many people in your social circle to know who you are and what you do. Like, a personal brand has never been more important nowadays. So if you let everyone in your social circle know that you are James the videographer, yeah, you want to be pounding that into their heads almost, like, just keep them aware of what you do, because at some point in life they will go, hold on a sec, I'm getting married, I need a videographer. Hold on, I need a video for my business, I need a videographer. Hold on, I need a videographer for this sports campaign, whatever it is, yeah? If you're constantly in the back of their mind in terms of video production, photography, as soon as they think of needing a video, you are going to be the first person that comes to their head. So, and I was kind of doing that by just constantly posting on social media about even little things, like posting pictures of me cleaning my camera equipment. As silly as that sounds, yeah? Like, pictures of me cleaning my camera equipment, new equipment that I've bought, talking about, like, other people's work, talking about my inspirations. It's just constantly refreshing in everyone's minds about what I do. And even if the person that I'm directly hitting with these messages don't need a video, someone else will eventually go, oh yeah, I'm looking to get a video done. Then that person is going to go, hold on, mate, I know exactly who you need to use. Here's his details. Yeah. And so it's all about getting as many eyes on you and your work. So
how do you, would that mainly be through things like social media, or how do you do that?
Yeah, good point. So I used to go out when you're 18, 19, you're out on the lash, you're out drinking and whatever. I used to go out with my friends, used to go to parties, things like that. I used to take my business cards. And I kid you not, I'll probably be able to find a video somewhere. I used to go to like nightclubs and I used to take like packs of my cards and I would literally go like this because I know that some people will be like walking around, or even the people at the end that own the club will be walking around going, what the fuck is all this on the floor? Yeah, because my cards are like bright white, so usually club floors are dark. So I know, I don't care if I throw 100 cards in the air and one person picks them up, looks at it, goes, oh, I'll even check out what, like, it's got all my social media pages on it. Oh, I'll quickly check out what this geezer does. Yeah, puts the thing on puts my handle in on Instagram, instantly on my page, see who I am, see what I do. People are intrigued. They've gone through all this effort to pick up my card, look at my Instagram. They might even give me a follow. And if the owner of the club or someone in the club works there, they're like, oh God, like this is a videographer. Let's give him a message, see if he wants to come in and get a video. So that's how I do it, like personally, like if you're out and about, physically do it. Whereas on social media, you just want to be constantly posting on Twitter about making films, like enjoying other people's films, like BTS content. Instagram, post as much work as you possibly can. You just all it is just refreshing in people's minds about what you do. That's literally all it is.
Yeah. And do you ever, how did this turn into the brand? How did that transition? Because I would never think a videographer would start a clothing brand. How did that become an idea? I've always been into like design. Like I love creative, anything that's got any kind of creativity in it, basically. So when I first started my vlog, which was about 2 years ago, I was wondering like, what the hell do I wear in my vlogs? Because for one, I know clients watch my videos, so I want to come across as a professional person. I don't want to come across as like some young nutty geezer who's having a laugh on YouTube, like your Logan Pauls and all that. So I thought, right, do I wear? Because I like to wear really wavy shirts. We call them shit shirts in the UK, like just outrageous shirts, basically. So I really like to wear them. And I was like, oh no, I can't really do that because my clients are going to look at me and go, "There's no way I'm hiring that guy." So I thought, right, like there's no brand out there for creators, for creative people. This like new wave of influencers and creators around the world. There's no brand out there for them that is actually cool. Like there's a few, but they're just not cool, mate. So I thought, no, like I'm gonna try and create a brand for this, and come up with a design. I was like, spent ages like thinking, oh, like how do I want to do it? Because I really like minimalistic stuff, like nothing in your face, just like really minimalistic kind of branding. Come up with this idea, got my first like set of tees done, I think a while back, about like April time. Wasn't happy with the first ones, so I actually just ended up giving them away. So then I basically just got new samples in, second batch come through, really happy with them. They were great. And yeah, started putting them out. To be honest with you, mate, I really didn't expect to sell any. I just thought it could be an addition to my YouTube brand, if that made sense. So I was going to hopefully like just give them out to subscribers and things like that, like OGs that really supported my channel. But yeah, essentially I just wanted it to be an addition to the YouTube channel, but slowly it's actually turning itself into quite a cool brand, which is really nice. And a lot of people in the UK are really starting to like embrace the fact that, yeah, this is like quite a cool clothing brand for creators, but there is like an underlying like reason why. The actual reason why I started it was, like when I first started photography, it wasn't cool to be a photographer or a creator. Like it wasn't cool at all. Like I remember walking around I went on a school trip to New York with a load of friends, like awesome school trip, by the way, like big up my old like fucking secondary school for taking us to New York. I wouldn't be a teacher taking like 30 kids to New York.
But yeah, no, we was there, and like this is like when I was just really starting to get into photography, and I was there with all like kids from school and stuff, and I had my camera over my shoulder, and I was like almost a bit embarrassed to like get my big DSLR out and like start taking pictures, and because at the time, this is at like 2011, 2012. At the time, it wasn't cool to be like a creator. Like Instagram wasn't about. I think Facebook was Facebook come in a little bit before this, and it just wasn't cool at the time. Whereas now, it's cool as fuck if you're a creator. Like loads of young kids like aspire to be creators, like YouTubers, things like this, which I think is fucking incredible. So I think if kids nowadays can show that they're proud to be a creator. That is like the most like inspiring thing ever. Because back in the day, when I was a photographer and I thought it wasn't really that cool, if I had have embraced it and been like, yeah, I'm a photographer, instead of kind of like getting my camera out, I was a bit like embarrassed. If I'd have just like embraced it and been like, yeah, mate, I'm a photographer, I'm a creator, without thinking about what other people thought, how much better would my work eventually be? Because I'm really putting myself out there to get the shot I want, instead of like hiding this passion away. So yeah, I want young kids to like be super proud of what they do, and if they're creative, if they've got a passion for something, I want them to like show that by literally putting on their chest the word create. So yeah, that's basically the story. I just want kids to be proud of their creativity and not really give a crap about what other people say about their work, because it's their work and it's personal to them. Don't worry about what other people think about your work, because at the end of the day, it's your work, and we're all going to die, so you need to make sure that you enjoy your work.
That's too right. How do you, like, because we talked about Mo Samuels earlier about he doesn't really give a fuck about a lot of things. How do you go about like not giving a shit if someone says to you, oh, I don't like this, I don't like your work, like how do you go about not giving a shit? Like how do you do that?
Well, it depends. It's a really good question, because if it's a client that says, I don't like this piece of work you've done for me, then you've got an issue, because it's their brand, right? So I think essentially when you're working for a client, you need to find that middle ground of, because I go to lots of meetings with my clients before we go and shoot their video. So we sit down, I tell them the story that I've got for their brand, and we come to like a decision on how the story is going to pan out and how we're going to shoot it, the locations, actors, things like that. So that kind of clears up a lot of my issues in going to the shooting their video and them going, oh, I don't like it, because we met up before, I've shown them the storyboards I've made before, and I've kind of shown them the film before I've shot it. So that clears up me having any issues with my clients. But if it's online, if it's YouTube stuff, or if other people don't like the work I've done for my clients, if I'm happy with my piece of work, I quite honestly do not give a crap if people don't like my work, because let's say there's however many billions of people in the world, not every single person is going to like your style of work, like your storytelling. But that's the beauty about being a creative person, because everyone's got a different interpretation on one story. If we was all to tell the same story for a video, every single one would be a tiny little bit different. And that's the beauty of it. So I'm very content in people not liking my work, as long as I'm really happy with my work. I feel like when you get to the point when you're happy with your work, that is all that really matters. Because if you're trying to please other people all the time, your work ain't going to be great, mate. You're just going to be copying other people that kind of copy the same kind of styles, right? So, yeah.
What about, for instance, say when you get in a rut, when you don't feel quote unquote motivated? I hate that word, but like when you don't feel like doing photography work, when you just don't like, do you ever feel like that, or did you ever feel like that, and how did you or do you get through that sort of rut?
100%, mate. I've felt like that like a couple of times this year as well. So you kind of lose a bit of that creative spark, and I think it comes down to trying not to make your work. So try not to, because the more and more you get into photography, videography, or whatever it is, whatever passion you've got, you want to try and not make it work, try and keep it your hobby. So try not to get too involved with the clients. Try not to, I think as soon as you start getting a bit stressy with your clients, that's when it kind of really brings you down and you're like, oh, I can't be asked to finish off this project. I feel like I think it's time as well. As creative people, you need the time to develop ideas, and I think your mind. I think having a very clear mind is really important to coming up with good ideas. So if you're stuck in like a creative rut, I think you just need to slow down, because when you get into a creative rut, you start panicking. You're a bit like, oh God, like what's wrong with me? I'm not thinking creatively. I'm not getting excited by new ideas. And then you try and like rush an idea. You try and think, oh right, no, I need to make an idea now. I need to come up with a story now. I need to make a video now before I start losing my mind. But I feel like the best thing to do is just like slow right down, because then that idea will naturally come. That idea will come. If you stress yourself out about it, you're only going to make the situation worse. So for me, I always come up with the best ideas either at night or after like a long kind of relaxation period, because that's when your brain just. I feel like if you're, I'm not saying I am, but like let's say if you're quite a creative person. As soon as you kind of slow down your mind, that's when your mind will just put in little ideas. It will just these ideas will just trickle in. So essentially, if you're in a creative rut, just give yourself some time, man. Put the camera down for a bit, if anything. I'd just say put the camera down and put the edit down, because the edit is where you really try and like build a story. Stop trying to build something, let something come in. So yeah, that's kind of the advice I'd give, because I've been in that situation a few times this year as well. So and gladly come out the other end, because I'm in a really good a workflow at the moment. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was in quite a bad like creative space, but now at the moment, thank God, I'm in a really, really good one. So yeah.
How do you, going on to, because you said workflow, how do you do anything to, because you also said that you don't want to try and make your work too worky, make it too like feel like a chore. Is there any systems you put in place to, this is just something that I like, to sort of streamline your work and make your work more efficient? Things like calendars, like recently I've been playing with time tracking, things like to-do lists, all that kind of stuff, all that kind of, productivity-ish, efficiency sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm quite a big fan of a list. I'm always writing lists. So usually I'll kind of plan out my week in advance, and I'll leave myself little pockets of time to roll over, because you never really want to rush a piece of work. Like if you really enjoy doing it, you don't want to rush it. You want to make it like the best piece of work you can. So if I've got my week timeline, I'll schedule it, because I'll have meetings throughout the week with different clients. I'll schedule in my meetings, I'll schedule in my shoot days, and then I'll schedule in my edit days. And fingers crossed, I'll try my best to schedule in my edit days directly after the shoot. So therefore, the idea, the shots are still kind of fresh in my mind, because there's nothing worse than doing a shoot and then having so much on that you can't edit it for a week, 2 weeks later. And then all of that kind of knowledge, all of that creativity that you remember from the shoot, you've completely forgot, because you've just delved into loads of other little shoots. So for me, I like to edit directly after I've shot. And in terms of the productivity side, I try my best to get the edits done on the days that I'll say I'll get them done. But as I mentioned, like I'll leave myself them little pockets of time to roll over. If something does come up, I've always got a little bit of extra time to do them edits. Yeah, I hope that helps.
What about sort of, I want to ask you two sort of very, very specific questions. One, I would like to know your opinion on film school, which is sometimes controversial, sometimes not, depending on who you ask. I'm not in the photography or videography space, so I don't really know much about it. And the second one would be on equipment and all that kind of stuff. How important is it, important, etc. Go with film school first.
Right, so it's probably quite a good question, actually, because I obviously went to film school. On a personal level, film school and university in general was like the best 3 years of my life.
Yeah.
So, and that's mainly in terms of like socially, but it kind of developed me as to who I am. Because when I was at film school, and if any of my old film school mates watch this, they'll probably know what I'm talking about. I had a lot of very, very talented people in my classes. Like in my cinematography class, there was people that were like super, super like good at what they do. They kind of knew the cameras inside out. They knew literally everything about the lighting and stuff like that. And I really didn't know that much at the time. But I didn't realize that I knew about story. I knew how to tell a story. And all of these other guys that were kind of really confident in the camera space, in the lighting space, I was really confident on the Steadicam because I felt like I could just tell a story through one shot. But these other people were really good, and I was almost a bit like, I don't feel like I'm as good as them because they know the knowledge. Because there's a lot of maths that goes into like working a camera, and you need to like know the menu systems inside out. I can't tell you the amount of times I like wrote down the Sony camera menu systems because when I'm on the camera, I need to work out how to get to like this picture profile, this frame rate, things like that. But film, I soon realised that like you just need to have the confidence to try it. So once you try it, you just fail. And then once you fail, you learn from that. It's all about failure. I know it's a typical thing to say in any kind of industry, but as soon as you put yourself out there to fail, then you will learn from that. So as soon as I came out of film school, that's only when I realised that. I was happy and open to trying everything. I'd say yes to clients that I didn't even know I could deliver for. And then I would fail in the prep. So when I say I'll prep for a shoot, I'll do loads of test shoots for it, and I'll fail. And then by the time I get there, I know what works and it's done. But I'll go back to like the original question. I personally don't think film school is relevant nowadays. I think it is. I think it's great for people that want to really go into the film industry. I wouldn't say what I'm doing is the film industry. I'd say I'm a solo filmmaker, right? And the film industry is very different from what we've got nowadays. You've got like 80 to 400 man and woman shoot commercials, films, like actual movies, and I feel like nowadays the technology's there, the equipment's there. You've got gimbals, you've got your Sony A7Ss, you've got your FS5, FF7s that do incredible work. And you don't need to focus too much on the equipment. Try to tell a story. I don't care if you've got an iPhone. If you can tell a story, that is all that matters. Like, people get too caught up in, I need the best camera, I need the best like dolly, I need a decent glide cam, I need a Xeon Crane 2, whatever it is. If you can tell a story, that is all that matters. And I'm actually focusing on using less equipment now and more just framing, more like character motivation in the shot where they're moving, directing my actors more, directing my athletes more, instead of, right, let's make this look super cool and let's do like a nice sweeping shot through here. Just tell a story, mate, and you are going to engage your audience like fire.
Yeah, because I find a lot of people... Sorry,
mate, that kind of went off a bit. Did I answer the question properly?
Like, I find definitely when I'm consuming something, what a lot of the time as a normal person who doesn't know shit about cameras, like, I'm not looking at the angle, like, of it, and like all that kind of camera-y stuff. Like that doesn't play into my like viewing experience. Well, I don't consciously, but obviously subconsciously it probably plays a huge part. But the things that I'm thinking about are what are they saying, how are they doing it, all that kind of stuff. And then the other question was, I think kind of touched on it. What about the equipment?
So equipment. People nowadays feel like they need all the best equipment in the world to make a good film. And me personally, I used to be quite obsessed with the equipment, as everyone does. When you get into something, you're like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this new lens, I want this camera, this gimbal, whatever. But people are there's people like Casey Neistat who are kind of teaching people now, because he's got a massive audience. Like, big up Casey Neistat, he's amazing. He is really teaching like younger kids to not be bothered about the equipment. Like, YouTube is a space now that allows people to create amazing content with minimal equipment. Like, it comes down to story again, mate. It is literally all about story. If you can tell an amazing story through a toaster, I don't care what you're filming it on, mate, a potato. If the story's there, everyone says content is key, and it is so true, mate. If you've got the content, then you're winning. Like, people are going to stick around for content. They don't stick. Some people stick around for nice aerials and nice big wide landscape shots and whatever, but they're mainly just the geeks like me. So if you're telling a story, you can engage a massively wide audience. You need to pull emotion out of your audience, and that is how you're going to get people around. And that's also how you're going to sell a brand as well.
where would you go to learn sort of the technical tips of actually using a camera? Because I recently just bought a camera just to film when I'm doing a solo podcast, stuff like that. Just a cheap...
what did you buy?
I got the Mark II G7X Mark II.
G7X, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, reasonably good. I was going to just use my iPhone, but the camera on that, it's like the lens is busted, and I tried to repair it, but it's fucked. I did use the selfie cam for a long time, but I'd find run out of battery or the audio wouldn't sync, which is really annoying. But yeah, I just had major issues with it. But yeah, I'm loving it. But as someone who doesn't know anything about cameras, where would you go to recommend? Because I'm doing very, very basic work, but just for someone who actually does want to do that sort of stuff, where would you recommend to go learn about the actual technical stuff about cameras and editing and all that sort of stuff if film school isn't like a practical
option? Yeah, YouTube, mate. 100% YouTube. I think YouTube is a better platform than film school. The benefit you get from film school is being able to be hands-on with all of this equipment that's available to you. That is basically the best thing about film school. But YouTube, I think, is a better learning platform than film school because you've got all of this content out there. You've got amazing amounts of content that you can watch at home. Yeah. So there's people like Peter McKinnon. You've got people like Matty at Travel Fills. Yeah. You've also got, like, hopefully I could say myself, I do a couple of videos explaining like the exposure triangle, things like that, how aperture works, how frame rates, how slow motion works. So YouTube, there is a huge amount of content out there that is super, super helpful. If you literally just type in on YouTube any question about cameras, there will be an answer there for it. And hopefully there'll be someone like a really good teacher there talking to you about it, a really good YouTuber. So I would personally say if you want to learn the ins and outs of anything to do with a camera, go to YouTube. Then after you've watched that YouTube video, get your camera out and try and reenact it. So you actually need to be to really learn, you need to be hands-on with a camera. So go to YouTube, find out the information, then go out there and shoot. Shoot, edit, repeat, man. Honestly, get your hands on the camera, get your hands in the edit. That is where you're really, really going to learn. But you're not going to, I mean, like, you can only learn so much by watching the videos. Yeah. But after watching the videos, get your hands on the camera, get your shutter speed right, get your frame rates right, get your aperture right to get your shallow depth of field if you want that, things like that. Just get your hands on the camera, man, and you'll be good.
What about how to tell a story? Because that, I think, you think is quite important, and a lot of people don't know how to tell a story because... One of my first interviews with a photographer was with Jesse Driftwood. He's like he does Instagram stories. You might know him. He's really good at Instagram stories. And he sort of taught me why telling a story is important. I had no clue about it before. Why is telling a story important? And two, how do you go about doing that?
It's all about emotion. The people that are watching it, they want to feel something. You want to engage your audience to the point where they actually feel something when they're watching it. They're not just watching a video. Yeah. You want to allow them to feel emotions. You want to be relatable, right? So if there's a story there that hopefully can relate with a lot of the people that are watching, that's when you're going to pull emotion from them. And they're going to remember that. They're not just going to remember like a nicely shot piece. If there's a story there, that's gonna if that's pulling on their heartstrings, if they're relating to that, then they are going to remember that. They ain't going to be forgetting it, mate. That's how you tell a good story, because it resonates with them. So for me, that is how you really capture an audience. And on the brand side, that is really how you sell a brand, because that's how the people are remembering that brand. If you tell a really, really cool story and then you expose the brand at the end, which is what I usually try to do, that last thing that they see is like engraved in their mind then at that point. So for me, that is why a story is so important, because it really pulls on the emotions and people remember it.
I definitely found, because I know you know Mo Samuels, I watched his transformation video and I have a slightly similar but not as severe thing. And that fucking video, like, I almost cried. Like, that video was good. Yeah, man. Because it just... That's it. Story, mate. The story is so strong in that video particularly. So
Yeah, 100%, mate. I completely agree with you there.
How do you go about evoking a story, and how do you go about evoking emotions in particular?
I feel like you find it. Like, this is quite a hard question for me to answer. Maybe you've experienced a certain story before that you want to retell, or maybe you want to kind of twist a few knobs to tell it slightly differently.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I've had quite a few like traveling experiences. I love to travel, where I've been out to like countries like Vietnam, for example, and I've kind of seen how the people are there and the way that the people treat tourists and things like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, they treat them really well. Like, they're really, really nice, welcoming people. It's my favourite country in the world. So I went there. I've experienced the way that the people are there. I've actually spent a lot of time with the children. Like, I love. Basically, we used to go out to like these like orphanages and things like that, and we teach kids to draw and stuff. And meeting them was so like powerful, because they've got absolutely fuck all, mate, compared to us, but they're still so happy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a film about that, so I went back to Vietnam and made a film about that. So that's kind of how I kind of found a story there, traveling, experiencing other people's way of lives, and then wanting to express that to the rest of the world, basically. That's why I made my film The Face of Vietnam. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes a story just comes to me. I don't know if that's like if you're creative, things just come to you or whatever, but I'm not saying I'm creative, but
I don't know. I think like the things, even just from what you said, I've heard an extreme amount of things, even from other I've probably talked to, I don't know, maybe only done 30 episodes, 35 episodes, and I've done like quite a few videographers, and I think especially something that is unique within all the videographers that I've spoken to is you guys all tell stories and tell them in extremely, and especially something that I didn't really expect is you put so much emphasis on the emotions and the story that I thought it was all being skilled with a camera, but it's something that I didn't really expect at all, and it's something that I'm just like, it completely baffles me, because I guess in a way with podcasting you want to try and tell a story with the guest, but I think it's very different. It's a sort of it's told in a different way, but I think it is similar, but it's quite different. How when it comes to
the camera work is secondary. Go on, mate.
When it comes to being original, because I think sometimes, especially like for example with me, there's huge podcasts like Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, all those kind of dudes. They're huge, and it's sometimes I feel like I don't want to cross that barrier of copying or even stealing from their content or taking too many elements from it. Like, I believe that I should take inspiration, but not ever take be unoriginal. How do you keep the focus on being original and all that kind of stuff?
Well, with what I do, I feel like it's easy to be unoriginal with the camera work. So it's quite easy to like find people on YouTube and kind of copy their transitions, copy their colouring, things like that, copy their like styles of shooting, because all you literally have to do is find out how they do it and then do it yourself. Which is I think with story, you only want to tell a story that's really compelling to you. So I personally don't find it hard being original with telling a story. The one thing that is a bit hard to be original with is the camera work, because there's so much being done nowadays. But the way that I do my camera work is to emphasize the story. So I will specifically do a low angle to look at someone to make them look big and powerful and authoritative. I will specifically do a high angle to look down at them to make them look small and vulnerable, right? So all of my camera work is to benefit the story now. So if I'm doing like a big wide tracking shot with a drone, it's to show how small that one person is in this a vast amount of space, to show their like significance or something like that, or show them in their environment. So there's reasons why I do certain shots, and I don't. I see my films in my head before I shoot them, so it comes from the mind. It doesn't necessarily come from the creative process. The creative process happens up here.
And how do you strive to get close to what you see in your mind, or do you sort of just let it flow as it goes, or how do you try and reach the thing that you see in your mind?
Yeah, so basically, I do storyboards. I swear by storyboards. I haven't got any in this room actually,
What
but I've got
exactly
loads
is a
next
storyboard?
door. So, what is a storyboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a storyboard is basically just a piece of paper. It could be, you can even do it on your computer nowadays, 2017 and that. So yeah, it's basically a piece of paper and you draw out your shots. So I'll literally just have like little boxes with like an explanation underneath.
Yeah.
It'll be something like tracking forward on subject turns to the right, out of the right of frame. I've got a video coming out on this literally tonight. So it'll be lots of little boxes, and all of these boxes will be my shots. So it'll be like wide establishing shot of the athlete walking into the gym, for example. Let's talk about a gym one because I feel like people can understand them quite easy. Like wide shot of the athlete walking into the gym. Athlete comes in from the right, low angle, 50mm lens, whatever I want to do, soft focus, 1.8. I'll also put all of like my, because I can see it in my head, I can then tell what settings. This sounds really strange, but I'll see the shot in my head, and then I'll understand, right, what focal length do I want to be on, what angle do I want to be on, do I want to be locked off, do I want to be on a gimbal, do I want to be panning, do I want to be tilting, do I want to be handheld? I do a lot of handheld shooting nowadays. People will kind of notice because I'm kind of going away from the gimbals and making it feel real instead of this amazing like glide like gimbal shot coming through. When you hold a camera like this, it feels real. It sounds so strange, but sorry, back to the question. Storyboarding. So yeah, basically you just draw out your film on a piece of paper, and I'll usually draw it out when I'm feeling most creative. This will be at night, so I'll be sitting in my bed at night, usually with my laptop. I'll be going through the song that I want to use for this story. I'll have like the synopsis down, like the story written down on a piece of paper. I'll listen to a piece of music, and I'll start getting the shots in my head. Once I can see the shots in my head, once I can see them all connect together, I'll draw them shots down. So when I'm out on the shoot, on the location, right, need to get that shot, need to get that shot, need to get that shot. But on the day, I do still compromise. If I'm like, oh, that shot looks good, but the location fits to do it slightly differently, I'll do it slightly differently. But therefore, I know that the story is going to make sense because it made sense up here. All I've got to do is do it with a camera. Do you know what I mean?
It's very like strange to me because there's nothing that I do that is similar to that. Like a lot of the podcasting, I like plan and I figure out who the person is, what they do, what they're things that I think would be interesting to talk about, all that kind of stuff, but there's no like pre-planning. I think that is possibly something that I could benefit and learn from. But what about with general life? And is there things you do in general life to enhance your videography, such as like, for instance, fitness, meditation, all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Both, 100%. Both what you just said there. So I'm quite a big fan of going to the gym. I've been going to the gym for quite a long time, since I was about 14, 15. Don't really look like it, but you know. No, I really enjoy working out. And recently, I've been doing a lot more cardio based stuff. I used to be quite like a weight junkie. I used to love lifting weights and whatever. But recently I've just been doing loads of cardio because I said this in my most recent vlog actually. When I'm like doing a continuous motion, be it riding a bike, like running, or even skateboarding, because you're just focused on doing that one thing, it kind of allows your brain to like relax, and that's when like these strange ideas start coming into my head, and some of them are really strange, which is cool for filmmaking and storytelling. So fitness 100% allows your brain to relax. I do quite a lot of meditation. I need to start doing more because I used to be really, really good at it. But if your mind is constantly thinking about a million things, you're never going to like come up with a nice, compelling story. You're never going to allow your brain that time to develop a story. So 100% meditation. I go out for like long walks with my dog, which really helps. And any ideas I just jot down straight on my phone, because once you're in that state, you need to get them down, because 20 minutes later you're going to be, I need to do this, this, and this, and you've completely forgot it. Fitness, meditation, and believe it or not, there was actually something called lucid dreaming. Have you ever heard about that?
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've never I think I've looked into it a tiny bit when I was a kid, but what is your experience with this?
So, for anyone who doesn't know, I'll quickly give you a quick overview. Lucid dreaming is where you're asleep, dreaming, but you wake up in the dream and you realize that you're dreaming and nothing's real basically because you're in a dream. So I used to have like a dream journal. So when I used to wake up in the morning, I'd remember the dream that I had and I'd write it down. So I used to have like some of these really strange lucid dreams because like I'd be like planes would like come and land on my driveway and I'd jump in the plane and fly off with like my cousin or some weird thing like that. And I'd write down these stories, and because they're part of my subconscious, it's part of my like subconscious storytelling as well. This is really, really weird. I've never really spoken about this, but and I'll write down these little things that happen in this lucid dream, and I'll adapt them into some storytelling. So yeah, lucid dreaming. Anyway, I'll end it there because it's a bit weird and like funky. But yeah, so lucid dreaming, meditation, and some form of cardio fitness. I don't find that weight training helps at all, but and it does really pay to be fit as a filmmaker. If you're, because we done a video with a boxer a while back. I do loads of boxing videos for a company in the UK and Sky Sports. So there's a boxer that we done like lots of really hardcore fast like running shots, and I was tracking them. And if I couldn't run, if I like wasn't a bit quick, then I wouldn't be able to keep up with them to get this shot. And I'd be absolutely bugged by the time I've done like 4 takes. So I think it does really pay to actually be like physically in good condition, because you never know when you need to step up. And for example, like the gymnastics video I done with Bryn Bevan about 6 months ago, I had to do loads of running shots as he was like running down the big thing to then jump on the horse thing to do about 1 million backflips. It does really pay to be in good shape, or like at least mobile to get good shots, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I find just with general life that I try and keep intact. Like I focus a lot on my fitness and a lot on I do try to do meditation, but I'm very, very slack with that and just focus on nutrition, all that kind of stuff. And I do think as well, clearing the mind, because especially now with our phones and just all that shit, like we don't really get that time to just chill out and think about zero.
100%.
Completely think about nothing else. But yeah, I should probably
100%,
go to sleep soon because Christmas. But I'll just finish with one more question.
Oh yeah, man. Sure, dude.
What advice would you give to someone who just got into this and they just wanted to start being a videographer and photographer?
Right, okay, I'll put it really, really simply. If you want to start out doing like kind of doing what I do as a videographer or photographer, shoot as much as you possibly can, if possible, every single day. As soon as you start getting used to using your camera, it will just become second nature. You'll start learning the settings better. You'll start learning your exposures better. Use the camera every day. Edit as much as you possibly can and post it everywhere as much as you possibly can. So shoot, edit, and post. So you're learning your craft. You're learning how to tell a story in the edit as well, and then you're getting eyes on your work. As soon as you get eyes on your work, companies will come to you if the work's good. The work is only going to get good if you do these two, right? So yeah. That's all I've got to say, really. And best of luck to anyone who is trying to do it.
Sweet as. And where can people find you online? Where can people find your brand, your Instagram, all that kind of stuff?
So my Instagram is JamesMatthewMedia, straight up, nice and simple. My YouTube channel is just James Matthews. And then if any of you want to look at the Create page, we try and like post other people's work to like build a bit of a community there. So if any of you want to tag us in any of your photos, we'll try and repost like any good work for you. That's at Search Create. So SEARCHCREATE. Yeah.
Sweet ass.
And then yeah, just YouTube really, guys. If you actually want to check out any of my work to see if any of the stuff I'm actually talking about is legit, just YouTube, mate. YouTube.
Sweet as. Yo, guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As you heard earlier, there is going to be a lot of rebranding going on, but I think the show will stay relatively consistent because I'm still going to be doing the interviews. I'm probably going to just be adding more content and just basically sticking myself on a weekly schedule instead of just slapping out episodes whenever. And also I'm going to focus more on university students, going from really my target audience is the demographic of people from the ages of 16 to 24. So that's sort of my demographic, I guess, of university students and students in general with an entrepreneurial twist. And yeah, so Thank you guys very much for listening to this episode. I would love if you would leave a review on iTunes. That means the world to me. That makes everything completely just blow up, because when people see that you've reviewed my podcast and they see what you actually think, and I hope you think good things about it. If you think it's trash, leave that too. I want all your honest reviews too. So that basically feeds back, and it shows people that this podcast has social power behind it and people actually listen to it. And that's something that really helps me. So I'd love if you would leave a review. Thank you very much for listening. Have a lovely day, a lovely evening. Drink some wine, drink some tea, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Have a good day.